is that since now so much attention has fallen into the tanks, is can you deal damage? Are your damage dealers capable of melting down both the front and back line? Because so many times we see compositions that have a great front line, but their damage dealers just are unable to follow up, or tanks aren't as good of a peel as an actual peel composition with the likes of Karma and Lulu. So when we see picks like Blitzcrank Callista, the Kennen Callista that has come out, those are the new variations and compositions that make you want to say, wow, okay, this is the new hybrid composition that works with the tanks well. It can execute damage in both frontline and backline, and having access to backline damage with so many tanks is critical for succeeding in late game team fights in 7-14.
Yeah, we did have an interesting ban coming out of MVP. They took down Lucian here. They want to take that away from Kuzan and just the flex pick of Lucian in general.
First pick Elise. You know it's coming. We've seen it a mile.
You mean it's not going to be Wukong?
Yeah, absolutely. Elise, she is the queen of the jungle. I'm a broken record. I say it every time. I don't think this champion should go through, but they are giving a higher priority to the other champion. You know, Lucian, I'm not so sure about the Lucian ban compared to the value that Elise brings to a team composition, especially when you have the odds in your favor. When when the rest of Jin Air have been losing to MVP all year long, well, you know, you're giving them the strongest early game jungler now and asking them to pick an early game composition and forget about tanks.
Yeah, and it was a good ban on the Callista, I think, by Jin Air as well, with a new, okay, Caitlyn's going to be coming up, so they're going to give us the choice of Elise or Callista, so why don't we take away one of those and then take the remaining one in the Elise. So I feel like they did a good job through that. We did see MVP picking up the Xayah and the Rek'Sai.
And I really like the Rek'Sai over the Cho'Gath. The two main tanks have been Maokai and Cho, but we have seen these champions get abused so much early game because they do not have the tools to defend themselves as well as the Rek'Sai, the Elises, the Lee Sin, whatever other early game junglers anybody wants to play. And so they hinder the entire composition, and it just says, if we can survive and if the enemy team does not have an early game composition, we can hit that late game, we can start team fighting, but they have to respond with the Rek'Sai against the Elise. A Gragas would have been a viable option as well, but something like a Cho'Gath would have been just asking for trouble. And Jin Air have gone completely with the early game strategy here with the Jace and Tristana. So pushing lanes in bottom, pushing lane in top. It could be a mid lane flex. We still don't know just yet, but it's safe to assume that Sohwan will be having his hand at that champion. And it has just as much kill pressure as a Renekton Elise. It's just harder to set up.
Yeah, it's interesting that they do go for the Jace.
The beautiful moment.
Always be with you. I thought it was going to be something game break, and you're like, whoa, 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 hold the phone. The beautiful moments. Always be with you. I see. But
you don't feel moved, touched even?
A little bit. I definitely feel a little bit touched here. But yeah, interesting that he goes for the Jace. His Renekton is pretty good, sitting at 3-1. And you were talking a little bit about Cho'Gath. He's actually one of the more disappointing 7-14 picks in Korea. He's currently 1-7 on 7-14, so not having the most success just yet.
I think we can say globally, you know, the biggest disappointment about Cho'Gath has actually been the use of his abilities altogether. I find that most Cho'Gath have been quite bad, just to lay it out. They've been pretty bad at using their ruptures, at using silence at critical moments, because if you coordinate it well, you can actually flash silence on Cho'Gath, and you can get a fight started out that way, because you can't flash out. There's such a strong value to silence. There's such a high value on silence, believe it or not, that for years, Riot has been removing champions that have silences in them because the mechanic was deemed too broken. Kassadin's Q removed, the Garen Q removed as well, and there have been many more to follow. There's still a few that remain that it just hasn't been
Malzahar.
strong. Malzahar Q, the silence was removed as well. So that ability in itself is so powerful, but nobody has been using it to great effect. And hell, it's been missing left, right, and center.
Yeah, definitely has been a bit disappointing. And, well, you wanted Kuzan to go on a good pick, and he picks up his LeBlanc here that made it through the draft because we saw heavy focus on support bans, actually. Both the Thresh and the Alistar being taken away by MVP.
It's going to be Braum, though. He's still up.
Yeah, I mean, you go for 2 bans, but then you give away another big pick like that. But they're thinking about Morgana here, unless I'm just being debated once again.
No, that's a real pick.
Okay, there you go. Slowly coming back into the meta.
Huh. So this is curious because I believe it was Gorilla that played Morgana into Braum, and it has been a known counter. Morgana's pretty decent into Thresh and a little bit better against Braum, so you can counter a lot of what they do with their engages. You can stop the concussive blows, and here I would have initially thought, okay, it's going to be a Braum because it synergizes well with Tristana, with the Jace. You want to have that early synergy with Elise as well. It makes sense, but perhaps they're wondering that if they go with the Braum, the MVP would have picked up a Morgana, and Morgana against Braum and Elise and LeBlanc to top things up would have been a game-changing pick. So maybe a bit of mind games coming out of Jin Air there just to make sure that their composition still flies. But so far, they have picked something that has worked with them in the past, but this will rely on early game skill, early game advantages drawn out by Umti, and most of all, what we can expect out of a solid Jin Air is some clean-ass macro. Like, they know how to get advantages with these comps and just seal the deal, but they need those early game leads, because if they don't, they're going to be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, would have to agree. And just looking at the drafts on both sides, this doesn't really look like, you know, tank League of Legends, League of Tanks. This is just lots of aggression on both sides. Obviously, MVP, they did pick up the Rex side. They will have that tanky Rakan as well. But you just look at Jin Air's comp, and that looks like an all-out kind of KT style going super hard earlier on in Summer Split. So very excited for this game. I think there should be a lot of action in this one.
Yeah, Kuzan and Umti will have a lot of kill pressure on the middle lane against Corki, who is going to have to be taking cleanse against this matchup. So no teleports, which does give a Jin Air another advantage with that double teleport, which we have been seeing used more of a repositioning tool in your lanes as opposed to just getting flanks all around. And then ADD is going to be, for me, the guy for MVP to carry. If this guy gets going, the split push pressure that he puts on, he can just dive Jace a million times over, and the rest of MVP can just wreak havoc.
Especially with the help of that Rex size. So we'll see if they can make that happen. Going into game number 1 right now, Jin Air versus MVP. Let's hop onto the Rift.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Fans have come out in hordes down to the Nexon Arena tonight, making sure that they're cheering on their favorite teams. Even MVP still has their big fan base coming in.
Did you say horde because you're a Warcraft player?
Actually, I didn't know that you knew that about me, but I did play World of Warcraft for about 5 years of my life.
So you are
years I can't get back.
You are with the Horde?
Yeah, I was always a Horde player. What about you?
Oh, I didn't play that.
Oh.
I was poor,
probably
so I
good decision.
I played the poor man's Warcraft, which was RuneScape. Free-to-play, baby.
Okay.
Hit 99 strength and range on free-to-play. Don't ask me how. I lost more life in that than Warcraft combined.
Wow. How long did you play that game, then?
Oh, I still play it every once in a while.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's like the one you can't kick. I've quit 100 times. You know it's easy.
Always comes back. Yeah, once I always went back to WoW a bunch of times, maybe 3 or 4 times, and then eventually I'm like, no, I just gotta, you know, cold turkey it. I just gotta give it up 100% because it was just way too addicting. But nowadays, I mean, I can play League for like 11 hours in a day straight and be totally fine. So I guess it's just my addictive habits after all, Crumbs.
Yeah, just going from one to the next. Just like the Jin Air have set up Umti to go from Raptors to the next with the super leash, the advantage of the red side. So he's going to get the first move on the top side of the map, and we get to see what Umti gets to go for. What should happen is, unfortunately for the spectators, is absolutely nothing, because it should be expected that these are the routes that these junglers are going to take, and so ADD just needs to manage the wave carefully and not get himself in a position where he can be ganked, whereas Umti will likely just resort to going for the Scuttle Crab, going for some invades, looking to take advantage of the pushing lanes early on to scout out where Beyond is headed, and maybe get some counter jungling in, start getting some leads that way. And the wave is in fact pushing towards ADD. It's a nice ward, and nothing will come of it.
He actually didn't put down a ward here,
Oh,
ADD. That was Umti's ward. He faked a ward, and actually, I mean, he should know the timing, right? But here we go. Okay, he is going to dash away, and he should be totally fine. But Sohan getting a nice bit of pressure down. Umti's still hanging around top side, waiting for Beyond to make his way up, who's now going for his red.
The tension is building now because it's all about the burrowed. Can Beyond scout at Umti in this side? The fake ward should not mean a whole lot because he still has a dismount. All right, they just spot him out. Prey Seeker doesn't connect. He's going to be okay.
You're getting a nice bit of damage down onto ADD, and just alone can challenge both of these guys with the amount of damage that has been done and the proximity of Sohwan in the top lane. So, good start here for the Jin Greenwings.
Welcome to Elise. You don't see many other junglers that can actually 1v2 at level 3 without being presented a threat of getting engaged on. Granted, that is the Rek'Sai and Kled that are not in a position to engage, but he was handling both quite well.
Yeah, if I were MVP, would just be trying to play a little bit passively, especially early game. You give the Elise, or basically any jungler, but definitely one of the better ones here in LCK. Definitely a scary proposition for your team. And look at this, he's going top again. So looking for another gank, this time around at level 4. Perhaps a dive this time.
And because they're not tanks, they don't have enough to actually get the dismount and then get ADD killed before that without likely dropping the turret. So he's just trying to get the dismount as quickly as he can, but unfortunately ADD is just too resilient and he's going to get denied this wave.
Yeah, coming on in. He gets him with that dismount. He's actually going to get a ton of burst damage, forces the flash away. ADD will at least leave with his life. So a bit of trading down here in the bot lane at the same time. You can see the strength of Morgana against the engage of Rakan. Just basically says, okay, you can't knock me up. You can't really do anything to me. And so I'll just walk away from this one.
Morgana will continue to be quite strong, though, because remember, she can stop the Unburrow from Beyond. She can stop the Charm from Max and the Knockup as well. So there's plenty of tools that Jin has to go into a 5v5 team fight. Unfortunately for them, it's not as clear-cut as just go in there and face tank and win everything. It relies on your timing, on your skill shots, on actually predicting what abilities are going to be used and nullifying it that way. So they can still win a 5v5. I think both compositions just have the element of surprise and skill added to it, which makes this game that much more exciting. And unfortunately for them, the draft isn't so much of, hey, we're going to outscale you. It's you actually have to play this one out well.
We saw Ian getting into a bit of a scuffle with Kuzan in the mid lane, actually blew his flash as it was a bit of a panic move, trying to get away from those chains. Did survive, but now he doesn't have his cleanse. So we could see some action in the mid lane once again if wants to make something happen here with Kuzan.
Yeah, cleanse is down, so it would likely have to start off a chain. I don't see how a flash cocoon would hit Ian. He does have Valkyrie and flash to get out of that moment, and they're just waiting for the minion wave, but so is Beyond. Oh, things are getting hairy.
Beyond's been doing a decent job of sticking around where they think the gank is coming in. And here we go. Hopping forward. Ian already taking a lot of damage. The chains are going to miss, but using the second one onto the Beyond, who does flash away from all of that CC. And no kills just yet for either team.
And there we go. It starts off with the chain, but I think MVP needs to be more careful of this early game. They're trying to match, but they do not have the champions to match what Jin is throwing at them. So they are going to lose every single thing that comes their way. Now Jin is poised to go for another denial into the top lane, and a CS lead is quite apparent in the top and mid lane for their side. And MVP just has to go full-on damage control at this rate because the pressure that Jin is putting is overwhelming.
Look at MT, this is so obnoxious, but he's playing it so well with this. Okay, they're going to try to charge on in. Sohwan will block that charge. The repel coming out. Not willing to take the fight just yet. There's the dismount. ADD with no flash. They're looking to get on top of him. Nice on Burrow, but will it be enough? MT not able to get in range. Does flash forward for the first blood, but will pay for it with his life. A messy fight that will go in favor of Jin.
Oh, that was so greedy from He could have actually held back and sat there as their two double range against double melee, and they can just sit there harassing them under tower and force an even larger denial on the wave. That is one of the reasons why this combo is so obnoxious. It's not like Renekton and Elise that'll just straight up kill you. You have to have more patience. You have to be a little bit more humble with the way that you play these two champions out, but the end result is still similar with a big wave denied against ADD. Still a CS lead on to Sohwan and first blood to
Yeah, not the cleanest kill, but we're going to take another look here. See, the charge is blocked, and the repel coming up, and he actually stays up there for a very long time.
But you see the disjoint in the communication where Beyond is still finishing the golems, and Kled is there 1v2ing at the same time, so they weren't really committed onto that one. It didn't look like Beyond wanted to go for that fight. He just had to commit because once the Kled ultimate gets pressed, you've got no choice.
Yeah, definitely a bit disjointed. Looks like perhaps MT didn't have a target to jump down from his rappel, beyond just staying out of the range of that for quite a long time. Taking another look down here in bot lane, is going exactly even. There's been no action down there. The junglers haven't visited even once. They've just been going 2v2 the entire time, exactly even on CS.
It's really annoying for MVP because Jin Air doesn't really have kill pressure onto this lane. Only if you get crazily chunked somehow, hit by bindings, which should almost never happen, as you can always hide in the minion wave. Does Morgana have any kill pressure? And then Max doesn't have kill pressure onto Morgana because of Black Shield. Maha has no real way of actually proccing that Black Shield or forcing it to come out. She's not going to use it for just a snare onto the feather, so he'll only wait for the charm from Max, and because that's the only engage they have, they are resorted to purely farming. And it fits Jin Air's MO. They just want to play around the side lanes. They've been doing that all game, or around the solo lanes. They've been doing that all game long, and we've yet to even see Kuzan roam. And that's when things are really going to accelerate, when Kuzan has freedom in mid lane and can just go to top lane, go to bottom lane, and start making things happen.
Yeah, his roams are going to be pretty fantastic. I mean, he's so far ahead of Ian at this point in time. He's about to get his teleport up here in about maybe 40, 50 seconds, so definitely will have an opportunity to make some plays. Try to make this work with once again in the top side. And they have put down a ward. Kuzan's teleport slowly coming up, but you can see Beyond is in position once again. Try to help out the top lane.
God, Umti's so annoying. He's like the spider in your kitchen that you think you've killed, and then it just appears the exact same one again. It's like, I just saw you under my shoe. Like, are you a clone? Like, why are you keep coming out?
The clone spider makes her return. And okay, we have a charge coming in here, and it will lock onto Kuzan with the Unburrow, trying to flash towards his teammate Umti, but not going to get there in time. Way too much damage coming out from that level 7 Rek'Sai, and in fact, MVP will turn that around in the top lane.
Yeah, MVP sees the opportunity that Umti's not right there with Sohwan, and they're squishy. They need to get the harass in first because MVP and Beyond are going to survive a lot of damage as items start stacking up for them. They'll have an easier time in these 2v2s, and that's why I was talking about ADD being a possible win condition here. If he gets to be tanky enough to just run straight at Jin Air, they're pretty much only single target damage. If they can't kill the Kled right away, just force a dismount, the rest of MVP can just obliterate them because these guys are not going to be building defensive items anytime soon.
Okay, we actually do have a fight in the bottom side as Snowflower getting extremely low, but look at Maha as well. Not able to stay close enough as Teddy does zone him out, and again, no kills down in the bottom side. We're going to get a replay of this top play.
So Umti separates, they see the opportunity, and watch the Cocoon. The Cocoon hits a minion, but that wouldn't have even mattered. Jin Air was already so spread out at that moment, and honestly, the ability to unburrow the ultimate and just become untargetable from Beyond is a huge team fighting tool, or just a skirmish tool that allows you to mitigate so much time and damage from your counterparts that at this stage in the game, it will sway matchups in your favor.
Umti not bothered by the fact that he was not able to save his teammate up in the top side, is going very deep, putting down deep wards into the red side jungle of MVP. And finally, we do have a roam here out of Kuzan. They're looking for the first blood turret in the top lane. You can see ADD actually sticking around for a while, but will dash away from the Cocoon, and the first blood turret will go over to Jin Air.
This is good from Umti. All the attention he has put into the top side has finally paid off in the form of a turret. He might be looking at that Rift Herald now. He could do it with Umti, or with Sohwan rather, if they so desire. They do have a lot of vision to the top side, so it looks like they'll just wait off right now. They need that Jace to recall. And now we wonder what the lane assignment is going to be, because I would expect them to maintain this pressure into the top side, secure the Rift Herald, and that will be more valuable because you can use it into the mid lane than going into a swap into the bottom side where you have just Sohwan going bottom lane and starting to harass that tower, because the bottom lane hasn't had a whole lot of action. They haven't done significant turret damage compared to what Elise and Jace have done to the top.
Yeah, and you were talking about action in the bottom side. Snowflower doesn't even have his flash anymore, so not really able to go for any crazy engages unless someone else can help out with the CC. Someone like a Kuzan or Umti on one of these champs. And Umti's still hanging around the top side. He does not like to go down. And just looking for a potential gank up on the top side, but will recall as ADD has recalled himself.
This guy's got a tent like he's waiting for rain in a drought, or sitting there forever waiting for Kled. I think they could have used that moment to go for the Rift Herald instead, but it's not going to get a whole lot done. He can't commit without at least being there nearby. They don't have an idea where Rek'Sai is, so when we look at a fight like that, you just see, oh, they're just, it's like Cougars fighting.
They're just playing around.
They're just playing around, just joshing.
Yeah. Kuzan missed the cannon minion, though. I was a little bit peeved about that, I have to be honest, as he went for that trade. But he's got a massive lead still, about 50 CS ahead. 43 to be exact.
Okay, and I fully expect them to take advantage of that when the blue buff comes up, because Gunblade is completed, so he can just continuously go under the turret, take some shots, harass Ian, and then do it again. Reheal off the wave and go for it once more. His mana is quite low, and we have a 3-man, but this is not going to last for too long. Just give the blue buff over to Kuzan. Corki can wave through it effortlessly.
Yeah, you can see he's trying to do his best, but the red buff on Umti does make chunking that tower a lot easier. And now, with that movement into the mid lane, ADD also wants to try to make a play, but he is spotted out, and no charge will come in just yet. Another trade here by Kuzan, the Gunblade coming out, and the Cocoon onto Beyond as well, but here comes the charge. Kled charging on in, will lock onto Sohan, but there's no follow-up damage. Meanwhile, there's a skirmish on the left side. Looks like Jin Air, in the end, will take the better end of this trade.
Jin Air is just so much stronger right now. The CS leads that they have acquired, the First Blood, I mean, they're 3,000 gold up, and it's only 1 kill in the turret, so they're just so powerful. And again, this is what we're saying that they were going to do. They're going to get advantages early game and play the macro, and that's exactly what has happened. They've ran this composition with exactly Kuzan's LeBlanc, and it looked just like this. They're executing it to a T. They know their game plan, and these are the games that make you say, ah, yes, the Jin Air that we wanted, the Jin Air that might be able to break the unwinnable streak against MVP. Might be coming out this time around, but MVP did also lose the first game against BBQ, so it's only the first game in the series.
Yeah, definitely will have a better shot on the blue side once they get there. And the game is not lost just yet. They're making a play here towards the Mountain Drake, and actually no vision coming down from the side of Jin Air, so it looks like this one will just be given away to MVP. All 5 members going over there to secure that dragon. You can tell they really wanted that one.
Yeah, they had some time. They have package, so they were looking to get a fight if they could at any moment. But Jin Air needs to respond here with the Herald. Oh no, and AD is no MR!
Oh man, he just checks the bush alone, going 1v3, and he's just gonna disappear. That will open up so much for Jin Air. Should be a very nice Rift Herald coming up.
ADD must have ADHD because he didn't even notice that there were. He's right there hitting LeBlanc. Like, what else would Corki have been doing there?
Oh man,
he's just chilling. Jin Air just isn't going to respond with the Herald. Of course they are, so they do, and now they're going to go for it. I think they're waiting for, okay, they're waiting for a teleport here for ADD, or they're just going to 1v2 him. Here it is.
Okay, the 1v2, Kuzan still does have his teleport, and there it does come out. They're trying to get that burst damage from the side, but Sohan looking to turn this around. In comes Kuzan, but the counter teleport coming in from behind from ADD. Looking to charge on in. That bear trap on a rope is not going to connect, and no kills will come in.
But they do get the Rift Herald, and that is a big, big objective. And now we get to see where Jin Air is going to use this, because they can be greedy and save it for a tier 2 tower. They've already taken the outer one. They've already taken the outer one mid as well. But they could enact a 1-3-1 right now that would allow them to have significant pressure into the bottom, whichever top laner or mid laner gets answered. LeBlanc has been obliterating Corki, same with Jace into the Kled with the help of Umti, so they know that they can just get this tower easily if they lane assign it correctly. However, they could use a Herald on it, or with the previous statement, which you just put a solo lane down here, then you crack a tier 2 with the Herald after. But I get a feeling that Umti just really likes the top side, and we're probably just going to see more gold coming into Jin Air's pockets from a top lane tower.
That does seem to be where he set up his spider web. Can only go within that web for now. And, okay, it looks like he's actually making his way down bottom, and he's going to need to get there fast as Beyond is coming on in. Nice black shield to save Teddy here. Snowflower trying to flash away. There's the exhaust and the chains here. Gonna land here onto Max, but not enough damage follow-up, and they kind of get the follow-up kill. Here comes Umti. but I feel like he might be a little bit too late. Kuzan coming from way far behind. They may try to dive this turret even.
She's going to look for it. I think she can tank it.
Okay, there's the dive in, the Gunblade, and will snipe out Max, at least. The rest of MVP will get away, as Kuzan just going to follow up for the cleanup.
Oh, Jin is just running away with this one. I absolutely love the way they're playing the game out. They see the gank coming and the double flash immediately. Maha thought he could get the double root with the ultimate, but the black shields were just too powerful at that stage in the game. And still, no answer for MVP on this time around. Jin is just too damn strong early game, and this is what we're seeing happening, not just against the tank champions, right? Because MVP doesn't have a composition full of tanks, but this is what happens when you give away these super powerful early game compositions. It doesn't matter if you're against tanks, if you're against carries, whatever it is, the early game is just so impactful, and we get to see it here once again, like replay.
Yeah, really nice black shield very early on to make sure he gets hit by none of the CC, but Snowflower ends up giving up his life. You can see that, a nice binding onto Max. They almost get the kill, but the really good follow-up from Jin as a team. The response time was quite nice, quite fast, and they are able to pick up the follow-up kill onto Max here.
Yeah, and just to show how bad the trade is for MVP here, you just killed a support that hasn't done anything all game, and instead you gave the kill to a LeBlanc. So the LeBlanc got the kill, and the LeBlanc is the one that's been snowballing, whereas the Xayah is not going to be able to do a whole lot by comparison to the Morgana. So you always have to consider who you're killing and who's going to get that kill in return if you are to trade.
Yeah, I'm sure Kuzan was very happy to just pick up the scraps of that one and get even farther ahead. Looking like a potential Banshee's follow-up for him as his second item, so it will be quite hard to lock down, especially if Snowflower is around him. And he's got Banshee's Veil, he's going to have the Black Shield, and of course the mobility of LeBlanc. So charge coming in. Here comes ADD. It's not going to lock on to Kuzan, and they're looking to turn this around. Here comes Snow on. Can he get enough burst damage? ADD now going to be focused down. He will flash away, but he's all alone here. Trying to get that binding down, and it does land, but a nice follow-up engage here from the side of Max, able to pick up 2 kills. Looks like Beyond is going to trade his life for it, but a 2-for-1 in favor of MVP.
Really heads-up play from MVP there to expect the LeBlanc to jump onto the Corki with ADD ready to respond. They'll be able to wave clear this, so nothing will come of it because there is no Rift Herald allowed.
Well,
oh, wait a minute.
The binding, though, that was pretty sick. Under turret, Snowflower has been spot on. What a sniper.
Yeah, this Morgana has been crazy, but again, that play, it was ADD and the rest of MVP expecting that to happen. Everybody wanted to take a part in that fight into the bottom lane, and it shows that MVP is still quite formidable in a 5-on-5. The single target damage from Jin can only burst down one individual champion, and if they get spread out and they don't get to kill anybody right away, they're going to be left with a lackluster amount of DPS. And we're going to look at the replay again. Even though the charge does get to miss, as soon as the teleport comes out, they're like, all right, things are going to get hairy. That's a Jace. He's kind of squishy. Can we turn onto him? He goes for the shock blast onto the Corki, which might be a mistake there, because had that priority been ADD, the dismount would have been sooner and he likely would have gone down. Instead, the opportunity gets seized by Max, goes for a great knockup, the Rek'Sai ultimate and Xayah combo in, and while Beyond gets to die, it's still a good trade for MVP there. In the position that they're in, they just want to get as much gold as possible. It doesn't matter too much how much Jin gets, as long as it's not base turrets or Baron.
We're getting the really long replays this time around. Liking this upgrade.
We have a terabyte now of memory to...
We've upgraded here at the Nexon Arena, it seems.
Catch all the action.
Yeah. No replays cut off halfway through. Binding gonna land here again. They do have a nice bit of CC to follow up, but definitely a tanky target they want to choose Beyond to go for.
Oh, did we actually get to see the Rift Herald being used? I think it might have died down in the hands of Umti.
Yeah, I don't think we saw that.
It wasn't used bottom lane because he died.
Yeah, not 100% sure about that Rift Herald. Didn't see it. He doesn't have it in his inventory.
What a shame. It's like having a candy in your pocket that expires and you didn't notice. It was in your pants.
The candy that expires.
Oh.
You're like, oh, I've had this candy in my pocket for 3 years. I forgot about this one.
Hey,
now it's expired.
There's some that's, you know, some real good lifesavers.
Yeah.
I could eat that after 3 years.
Probably. I was thinking like a Tootsie Roll that gets all
gross.
mushy, you know. It's been in your pocket. It's the summer. You were walking around. You got like this Tootsie Roll in your back pocket. Not the best feeling. Wanted to save it for after dinner as your dessert, but it didn't quite come through. Your strategy did not work out. So begin to see that 1-3-1 you were talking about. They've got LeBlanc up in the top side, Jace in the bottom side, and the other 3 members trying to lay down vision in the red side jungle of MVP, trying to catch someone out. They have a tremendous amount of pick.
They've got tremendous pick, but not great Baron. Elise, sure, she's got a lot of damage into it with the Leandri's Torment and Tristana as well, especially if everybody just follows in and starts piling onto it. But going for a Baron, if you're Janae right now, would be, 1, too obvious. You have a 1-3-1. If anybody's missing, they'd be thinking, why are they not pushing the lanes? Secondly, because you don't have somebody that can legitimately tank it well, you're going to get very low. So if they collapse on you, chances are you're going to have to reset. You might lose a fight, or if you choose to turn, it will be suboptimal. So for them, it's going to be all about the vision control into pick. So we get to see both Morgana and Umti base off to try to acquire vision and make sure that they can deny as much as possible from MVP, and they don't have to waste time, because time is of the essence for them, whereas MVP is just trying to buy as much of it as possible.
Well, they've got this 2-0 Tristana that will have these energized shots coming out, and also just picked up red buff. So we're going to be looking for some Death-esque play out of Teddy. He's getting really aggressive, has the black shield, has a good amount of follow-up and ability to escape on that Tristana. So we'll see if he can do some nice poking onto the side of MVP. Looking to just push mid lane for now.
They might be looking to contest this blue buff, so we need to see the 3-man in mid join with a side laner so that we can start seeing some play. So it looks like they're going for the red side to pressure the Baron side even more, but there's not enough sweepers available for them, and they've already expired all their control wards, so they're not going to be able to see every inch of vision. That red side still remains, but a Baron threat here, again, it's so obvious. If Teddy goes missing, where else would he be?
Yeah, no buffs to pick up. Perhaps going back to buy an item, that would be the only other choice, but you know, they're going to have that in their minds. And you can see that he's actually recalling right now at the same time as Snowflower, so they're not looking to make a Baron play just yet. Going to take this one pretty slow.
Yeah, so he got a control ward, and I think that's got to be that one of his control wards is either a mid on the left side of mid, because they absolutely need to push that vision line way further up. It's so far back, it's not doing anything at this stage in the game. And if I had to guess, I'd say that Teddy's going to put his control ward on the left side of mid lane. That's where it makes the most sense for him. Here it is. There it is. Nailed it. Nailed it. Which one was his? The one in the mid lane. It's like I used to play this game or something.
I know, man. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, it's nice that this team effort is coming through. Teddy buying his own control wards. And he just did pick up that rapid fire cannon as well. So he's going to really be able to chunk down people. Ian did have the package there. Thankfully, he does get away from those chains.
And at this stage, a chunk is as good as a kill because it can force a recall. There's no self-healing on the side of MVP, so if they can just get somebody low enough, that'll be a good enough reason for them to threaten the Baron and force the rest of MVP to face check and maybe get a kill. It's a patient game. It's like going fishing. They have to wait. The wards are the bait, and it'll take as long as it takes. Although sometimes the fish bite back and kill you, but you know, it's like fishing.
It's similar, but not quite exactly the same. But I see what you're going for there.
Whoa!
Okay, what was that? The binding hitting Max in the face, saying no, thank you. I do not want to buy your wares tonight. And that just means that MVP lost a ton of engage, and they are on the run. You can see ADD being picked, taking a ton of damage. Kuzan by himself in the top side, chunking out this turret. And Jin Air now taking away a ton of Max's engage. Will just be very comfortable to push the top and mid side of this map.
That was surprising to see MVP look for an engage just like head on, 5-on-5 or 4-on-5, trying to see what they could get, but the binding from Snowflower really just stopped all of it. I would have loved to see what would have happened had that charm connected. I would have imagined that Jin Air is a little bit stronger right now, that would have been able to either disengage properly with Tristana's rocket jump, at least can also get out of sticky situations, and then you've got Kuzan that can walk or teleport into that play. So overall, I think MVP is getting a little bit too anxious in what's happening.
Yeah, you can definitely begin to feel it. You know, they know they're behind. They're looking a bit desperate and trying to find some of these picks, especially just going straight, running straight out of Morgana. Let's take a look at this play again because it happened so fast.
So we want to see the setup, and it's because there's 5 members in there that they want to go for it, but the distance is not there. Jin Air can easily retreat into their tower, and they would have had to beat them under the tier 1 if they really wanted to wipe that fight. You have to account for the acceleration gate as well that can get them out further. There's their flashes, so overall it's an ill-advised engage that would have been better suited for the jungle for any fight over vision as opposed to just in the mid lane hanging out.
Got to give credit to Snowflower's Morgana this game.
I think
the first
that binding
time
was luck, though. You don't
that
think so?
that binding was kind of good timing, a bit of lucky timing for sure, where it's like, oh, let's see what I can pick, and it just so happens that Max was running in right at the same time. Not sure that he was like, okay, Max is definitely going to engage on me right now. That would really take a lot of analysis of Max's play. Perhaps he knows that he's a really aggressive support, which he is, loves to go for those big, flashy engages, which he did. So perhaps a bit of game sense as well as luck coming in, but okay, here we go. Kuzan just doing a bit of poking, but overall, his Morgana has been quite good in this entire game. His bindings have been on point, max range Qs in a bunch of these fights, and it's his first time playing Morgana in all of Summer Split, so doing quite well.
Here's going to be the Baron start. Rek'Sai is not present, and there's nobody around. I think that this is a freebie for Jin Air. Yep, there it goes.
MVP this time around a little bit too scared, it seems, as now they have seen this, but the binding comes out as well as the double chain onto Beyond. He is nowhere near the spike coming in at the steal from Max from downtown. What the hell?
What?
How did he pull that one off? Munchie just barely too early with the smite. What a mistake, and that gets MVP right back in this game.
Are you kidding me? Twice in this split does a Rakan steal Baron?
Oh, what is going on here?
Oh no, that is devastating for Jin Air and just huge for MVP. They get so much free time on the map from this one. That's 7 minutes that they will have to wait for the next Baron. That's a couple of minutes for them to just have full-on power as a 5-man unit, which they're barreling straight down the mid lane. Jin Air should be cautious about this one. Whoa.
Okay, the deep engage, the double knockup as well. Teddy just being burst down, and this game is running away from Jin Air as all of MVP is diving this first turret. We'll see if it actually works out for them as another nice binding coming on in. Beyond getting extremely low. Another good engage, though, from Max. Empty extremely low. That missile just barely sails wide. And MVP not able to pick up any further kills, but still in a really good position.
Holy crap, MVP put the batteries on right this time because the second they get that Baron, they're going for dives, and they actually found Teddy and killed him immediately. This is that strength of the 5-man composition now. The single target damage from the rest of Jin Air is not enough to survive ADD just charging at you. The AoE from both Maha and Ian, and we got ourselves a game now.
Bit of a disaster situation for Jin Air. If Umti just smites that correctly, they would be in such a good spot. They have so many turrets down. They could easily go for an inhibitor push. They could pull MVP apart so easily with their composition with Baron. But because they don't have it, all of a sudden MVP turns this game around. And as you said, we've got ourselves a game. MVP could certainly come back in the gold with another couple of good dives, another couple of these turrets that they take down. And here we go, the game is turning around.
It's the curse, man. I tell you it's the curse. MVP have never lost to Jin Air in an entire set, and this has to be it. What other explanation do you have for, I believe it was 63 HP left on the Baron, that it actually was left at the smite? Doesn't matter, it was low enough for a Rakan to take it.
Yeah, which is incredible if you think about it. I'm sure we'll get the replay eventually, as you know, we added what was it, a terabyte of data or whatever it's called. into the system, which allows us to make these longer replays. But either way, a couple of turrets coming down here, and Maha actually in a wonky situation. He's all by himself and gets caught out there by Sohan with the on-point shock blast, making sure he can't go home.
Just last one to leave the party gets trashed.
Gets thrown out onto the front lawn.
Go back home. Calling your parents.
Calling your boyfriend, Rakan. He's worried about you. We gotta send you back. So with that pick, actually, Jin does have a short period of time, about 20 seconds, where they can try to make a push of their own. And they do have nice pushing power with the Jace, with the Tristana. They're doing exactly that, making the most of it, but again, not the longest timer, just trying to get whatever they can.
It's in vain. If Jin had the idea of going for a 5-man, they would have done so earlier, but it's only because they had a pick. Maybe they could try something. The wave clear is too much for MVP. Every time they're grouped up, it's just not in their best interest. The wave clear from Corki is too big, especially against the Baron. Maybe if MVP did not have Baron, that would have amounted to a tower, but they're going to go into Sohan here.
Okay, nice engage from Max. Ian should have enough damage to poke him down, and there it is. Max can easily get away with that one. And a nice follow-up. So picks across the board on the Rift, and Max making a very good case for him to get MVP in this game.
I am glad you said MVP, Valdez, because that's exactly who I'd have in mind if MVP were to win this game, because of just how critical that Baron steal was. But he's,
okay, that's pretty incredible. Seems like he sniffed that one out.
He's just charmingly fast.
It's almost like he was baiting it. He knew that they were in the brush somehow. Good game sense. Now Kuzan himself is trying to make a case for Jin to actually win this game, trying to split push in the top side, but gets caught out here by ADD, who is quite tanky at this point in time.
You know when that Baron got stolen, which we're going to, I guess we're not going to look at it right now, but I actually fell back so much my microphone cord unplugged.
Yeah, that's why you lost crumbs there for a bit in that fight. It was pretty hype. Unfortunately, though, you guys don't get to see it again. Only one time. You gotta pay for the full subscription here at the Nexon Arena if you want to see the full replays. That's the way we do it.
It's like those videos that tell you a full season of your favorite show here. You watch the first episode, and then after that, it just leaves you on a cliffhanger. Subscribe.
Only $4.99 a month. Okay, here we go. Ian getting pretty low, and they're forcing the Featherstorm early out of Maha, making a case for Jin who is still ahead on gold, to win a big fight around the Elder Drake. This game hasn't totally flown out of their hands just yet.
Okay, so Jin can still win this, but Teddy is their most important member. They need to keep him alive.
Okay, another good engage, and Umti is just going to be locked down forever. Nice repel, though, getting out of range. Will flash away. Here we go, the engage from ADD, but he's being focused down. Really nice redemption on the side of Jin. It's going to keep everybody very healthy. Look at all that CC. The shock blast is blocked by Max, and they cannot pick off ADD, but still everybody on MVP will have to back off.
Oh, Teddy just spares his life at the last possible moment. That was so close. They almost killed him. The binding was great from Snowflower. You were saying how on point he's been, but they will be rewarded with that Elder Dragon. Again, MVP has a very difficult time going for these crazy engages. They went up to Umti. He's actually the hardest member to kill out of all of Jin. He's got armor, he's got more HP, he's got repel, he's right next to Morgana. So a poor target selection. They thought they could just burst him because of how quickly they went on him, but the damage follow-up was just not there. So we're going to look at it again. Corki has already committed to no Valkyrie, so he can't go by this area that confidently. If they go in, or Zaya is not there, and the repel just buys so much time that the rest of Jin can get into position, and the second that ADD charges in, you know he's in trouble. Stoneplate is not enough, but Tristana's ultimate is going to be enough.
Oh.
Wow.
So sad. ADD would have been a fantastic pick for them right there. Definitely would have made a case to get a big push off with this Elder Drake. They don't actually have any other Drakes, so this Elder Drake not going to be the most strong Elder Drake we've ever seen, but they deny it from MVP. And here we go, the Baron. It's being started. No vision around here. Kuzan is going to see it, and he can't get in time. So the Baron does go over to MVP. Janair trying to follow up, but good disengage so far from the side of MVP. Doesn't look like anybody will be taken out, and that is a clean Baron for the side of MVP.
And that's Janair's or MVP saying, we will fight you. Come fight us right now, or you're too far away from Baron, and you're not going to be able to do so. So they go for a great play right there, using the back timings from Janair, using their own speed to get into the Baron. And it's a double AD carry composition. You can melt that down quickly, and they actually have the only Mountain Dragon in this game. That's why you were saying that the Elder for Janair is not that impactful, and MVP felt safe taking that moment, and they pull the trigger on a high-octane situation, and it pays off.
Good heads-up play, good timing by them, and now we're going to have to see Snowflower pull off some really fantastic bindings if they want to make this happen. They have a nice bit of follow-up CC with the Cocoon that can come out and the chains. They just have to lock down one target.
Janair needs a lot of patience in these fights, because if you amount all the HP of all their characters, they have way more or less active HP to take these fights with. Between Rek'Sai and Kled, they're just outmatched in terms of tankiness. So they need to just take as much damage for free as possible before engaging. Any chip damage matters a whole lot, and the MVP have to respect that. They can't just be having Corki and Xayah taking free auto attacks and then starting a fight, because it's exactly what Janair want to do.
Yeah, and the 5-man push down the mid lane doesn't really work out for them after all. And they are going to regroup and go for it once again after some recalls from Janair. But Beyond's in the top side, doesn't have TP, obviously. They do get a nice bit of engage here, but Beyond is not in position. They're looking for another pick, and they get it. ED is going to hop off Scarl. The binding just barely sails wide once again, and they cannot pick up a kill.
Boy, ADD just playing with fire all game long. Early in the laning phase, just dying a little bit, and then now barely surviving. That chunk might have just ended the entire push from MVP. They're going to try once again for the minion wave, but between Beyond being into the top lane for some odd reason and ADD getting chunked, the Baron just ticks down once again, and we're going to look for a big stall out, because these teams aren't capable of fighting themselves or fighting against each other in a lane. They need objectives.
They definitely do. The Beyond push in the top side will remain a mystery for now. Definitely would have liked to have ADD up there with his TP and his charge, obviously. I mean, he's playing Kled, one of the best champions to charge from a side lane into the mid lane, but still they decide to send their Rek'Sai top.
It's got to be a deja vu moment. You're thinking, oh, I'm Rek'Sai. I'll tunnel in, guys. And like, whoa.
Okay, hold that thought. Snowflower does get picked off, and a nice big knock up onto Teddy, but they can't get onto him, so now he's going to be in the back. The Void Rush comes in, and Beyond now in a bad situation. Kuzan not healthy enough to get into this fight, but finally they take out one member. Is going to be Beyond. That Cocoon just barely sailing wide. Teddy now going to jump forward. He's looking for that deft play. Can he get actually any damage coming out here? He's moving forward. He's very fast, trying to pick off. He does get it. Another engage by Max, but it's too much. And that's going to be a double kill on the side of Teddy. And now Janair should finally have their push.
I said it before, and now MVP gets to see it. Teddy is the most important member of this composition now. He is the late game factor for Janair. And if he doesn't go down, if he's getting free auto attacks, Janair have a safe chance at winning these battles. They have 5-man strong, 3 members down. I think they might be able to get an inhibitor, and they might be pushing for more.
We'll see if they want to go for the push here.
Oh, yeah.
We got 15 seconds left on Beyond, and it looks like they're going to go for it. The chains are going to land. So much damage on the side of Janair. They're bursting down these turrets. Umti is going to use that repel to get out of danger, and this should be game number 1. Going over to Janair as they clean up the rest of MVP, just adding to their KDA as they take game number 1.
Teddy comes back from the grave to make sure that Janair does not lose that game 1. It was close. It looked fantastic in the beginning, but that Baron steal just gave them such a heartache. And Umti holds his head low. Not sure what went down. That game could have been so clean, so clean, but they still held their composure together. So, you know, you shrug it off a little bit. You do. You really have to. When you look at the VOD review, when you're Janair, they went with the right play. The Baron was the right call. The binding was proper. Rek'Sai did not get into the pit. It was a sliver of health that went onto the Baron side. So when you look at these games, they're lucky that they did not get a loss, but they get to learn that they were making the right move. So it's only by chance that MVP got to that point, that got to understand that, oh, maybe we have a fighting chance in this game. They didn't execute it very well towards the end, but they held on.
Yeah, we saw the potential of Kuzan's LeBlanc as well. He was going for those top lane pushes, but as you said, the game just went totally haywire once that Baron was stolen. So we didn't get to see that super clean play that we saw, I think it was against SKT actually, where they 2-0'd them, where Kuzan was on red side LeBlanc and he was just wrecking face. Would expect a ban against that going into game number 2. I have to say Teddy's Tristana also looked quite solid, very clean. Just that one time he got picked.
It really did, but I think so much of the early game and so much of this game revolved around Umti. And while sure, he did lose that Baron and that might rob him of an MVP performance, he put so much pressure on the map. Top side just belonged to Jin Air ever since level 3. And we're going to look at one fight into the bottom side. We're just jumping into around level 9 that just going to be a 1-for-1 trade. And this is the only action that we got to saw in bottom lane, that MVP overcommits to try to get a double kill, but we don't get to see it now, but that's what was happening. LeBlanc was coming with a gunblade, just shoots Rakan to death.
We're going to see this Max range binding eventually, but a good knock up first from the side of Max, who does eventually come in. There it is.
You can almost always tell who's going to lose a fight when players have these AD carries that jump in and they get to start the fight without being in position, and they have to jump in to get into position. That's almost always a recipe for disaster. It happened when MVP had a Corki without it. And we're going to look at the Baron steal.
62.
Oh, I was so close. It was 63. I said 63.
And I think it took a tiny bit of damage from someone else right before the Rakan bullet came in. And this was the dive that Teddy got picked off, and we were just like, what the hell? This game is turning around.
But look at how that dive happened. It was Rakan right away, Rek'Sai and Kled immediately, and the follow-up from Corki and Xayah. So they were grouped, hitting all the same target. But this was the only time we actually get to saw that. They were as disjointed in the fights as they were during the laning phase, where it was all about Jin Air. And here it goes again. Teddy gets to jump out. So sure, it got interrupted, but there's nobody following up. The Corki and Xayah are not dealing damage. They're looking for Kuzan when there's targets nearby that they could be harassing. There's no tanks on this team. So MVP needs to reevaluate the way that they're taking these compositions out and not letting these early game champions that Jin Air is so proficient with, because one lost fight did lose them the game.
Ian's Corki wasn't the most impressive thing for me. I mean, a couple of very close missiles that just barely did not connect, and also his target selection at times was a little bit lackluster. Didn't really use the package to the greatest potential that it does have, but either way, did almost get the most damage in the game. By far the most damage on his side, but in the end of the day, we see once again dragons don't really matter, as we do have the Jin Air Greenwings taking game number 1.
No, they do not. It's about the pressure that you have. It's about the way that you use them. We've
and Barons too, apparently.
2 Barons. It was that awesome. Well, it was 2 Barons.
Yeah.
They did one and stole one.
Yeah, it was 2 Barons, but still could not have them win the game. But either way, guys, we are going to take